what I'm going to give you a view of is how your life is put together through the tree of life. Okay. Now the tree of life, this is a format of it. Let me just give you. This is a picture of the tree of life. What it is, it's more than 2,000 years old. Okay, system of putting together how the universe works. Okay, this is it's associated with Kabbalistic traditions. You may have heard of Kabbalah. It's a Hebrew foundation, mixed with what I call the life codes, which is Kabbalah, mixed with numerology. Okay, so this gives a really clear structure of how everything works. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of a feel for it before I go through each number, because each number has a relevance, and it has a very strong relevance as far as you're concerned. Okay, because you will be a particular life code. I'll show you in a minute how you work all of that out. But just to split this up so that you have got a feel for it, the 110 there at the bottom of the tree, that is us all as our physical world. Okay? That's us wandering around in our physical body as part of life. If you can imagine, or use your imagination, that you have this grid that exists as part of you. Okay? The 9 vibration is the subconscious. So there's you wandering around as your 110 down there at the bottom there as the body. The 9 is your subconscious. Okay? As you can see within this structure, the subconscious powers the 110. So it powers the physical. So your subconscious is all the things that you have gathered through your lifetime now, but also the energy that you have gathered from your heritage. Okay, so your heritage will be your parents. Your heritage will be their emotional history. So it goes back generations. And for sensitives, most definitely intuitive sensitives, when the rest of your tree is wanting to communicate with you in the physical world as the 110, it cascades through the subconscious. So you may have found in recent times, or generally over the last 10 years or so, that your life has been turned on its head. All the things, all the structures that you saw as your world have changed. And it has perhaps changed into something that you don't recognize. Who feels that? Okay. So this is a very strong indication that the soul path is trying to work its way in to your physical world. Okay? It cascades through the 9. So in it cascading through the 9, in order for the soul to be settled and happy, it has to straighten things out in the 9 vibration. And the 9 is about uncertainty. Okay, so all those things that you were certain of aren't part of your structure anymore, and it has perhaps weakened your confidence in who you are. That doesn't have to stay. It is a stage. It is not a definition of you. Now, as we go into the 8 and the 7 vibration, the 8 and the 7 is the structure of your emotions. So the 7 vibration is the structure of your feelings and your emotions. I'll explain much more about that a little further on. The 8 is the structure of your intellect. Okay, so how you operate from the perception of the intellect. Some people would refer to it as the higher self. Okay, so it's the higher components of the psyche. Now, a lot of people think that clairvoyant structures, talking to those who've passed over, all of that is based deep into the tree. It isn't. It's actually quite low. It's across here, 30-second path. If you can see the little red dot there, going across there. This is the line of which the communication takes place. So there will be a portion of you in this room, quite a high portion, who have had dreams of things before they occur. You would have had powerful dreams of meeting people who have passed over, relatives, friends, etc., and it feels to you as though you were in a room with them. The meeting point is here on the 30-second path. So it's happening in a dream state because the 9 vibration, the subconscious, isn't yet tidy enough for it to happen for you in a waking state. You'd think you'd lost the plot. Okay, does that make sense? Who's had a meeting? Okay, a lot of you. So as we go deeper into the energy, the central column there is called the consciousness line. Okay, this is your developing consciousness. This year, in the 2012 vibration, we've been in the 6. Okay, so we've been in the soul. So this year, you will have found that there has been a lot of experiences that have been outside of your control. But at a deep level, you feel somehow that they're good for you. That you're having to develop a faith and a trust. Even though it feels as though you've had your insides ripped out. Okay? Because as the 6th vibration, it's symbolized as the butterfly pushing. Because for a butterfly to emerge from the chrysalis, it has to push against something. There has to be an element of struggle in order for its wings to be strong enough. And so the soul vibration is the same. That you're having to push against something in order for the soul's reality to feel strong in the 110 energy of the physical body. Okay, does that make sense? So all of those things that you think you've been punished for, that you think, what on earth have I done? Where have I come from? What the hell's my karma? The deeper the push, the stronger the soul's desire. Okay, does that make sense? So as we go further up, in order for anything to become manifest in the physical world, as the 110 at the bottom there, it has to involve the 5 and the 4 vibration, which is will and love. So those 2 energies have to come together in order for something to maintain itself in the physical world. There has to be a will and there has to be a love. So we use those expressions in our life. They lost the will to live. They're broken-hearted. What happens when we utilize those sayings? We're actually saying that something doesn't have the desire to be in the physical world. Does that make sense? Yeah? So for those 2 energies to be, for things to manifest in the physical, the 5 and the 4 have to be present. A desire, so it's a spiritual push, it's a warrior type energy, with a deep love. Now, the love is not running around hugging people. The love is about the journey to an internal faith. How do we do that? Well, for all high sensitives, and definitely intuitive sensitives, there is a stage at which the heart center has to open. And during that opening process, it can feel as though you've been thrown out into the elements. And during that process, you will also be attracted, particularly to the lighter colours. So the pinks, particularly the pinks more than the lilacs, but I call it the pink and purple phase. And you will have gone through that at some stage, or you are going through it currently, where everything you see that you're attracted to, oh, pink, purple, lilac. It's a symbolism, or it's an energy vibration, or for a lot of people it's rose quartz. Quite often it's rose quartz. It's to develop the energy of unconditional love. And it's not about everybody else, it's about unconditional love within the self. And during that phase, people become very attracted to angels, because they are very strongly focused around unconditional love. And if we haven't got that for ourselves, in order for the soul to really manifest itself in your physical world, it has to grow from somewhere. And if you've come from foundations that hasn't been present, then it has to develop in you. So most of you will be going through a phase of being forced into unconditional love. And you're trying to keep things the same as what you know. Okay, does that make sense? So, as we go further up, Darth Vader in the middle there, it is, the Darth energy is about our internal darkness, okay? And it's about seeing it as a process to explore, and it's one to see as something that is, I know this sounds really hard to do, as exciting rather than daunting. It creates in our life something that is a challenge, that we feel that we're not in a place to be able to control. What it does is it takes us deeper into the connection as far as unconditional love is concerned, because unconditional love doesn't have control, and the personality loves control. So in order to develop the relationship between the personality and the soul, we have to lose some of the kind of control freak in us, and we all have one at some level. There's something in our environment that we have at some stage or another desired to keep within the familiar. And that's what Darth is for. It's there to take us through components of our deep, dark nights of the soul in order for us to open our energy up to unconditional love. And for some people, when that occurs, it can feel as though you really have been turned inside out. And others, it can feel you've been turned inside out and stamped on. And that it's quite a fragile place for you to recover from. But that faith within the self brings the recovery. And within that comes the soul into the physical world. Okay? Does that make sense? Some bits you'll think, well, I'm trying not to be too I could get very deep. The 3 and the 2 vibration, it's the ultimate female energy, it's the ultimate male energy. Okay, so the 3 is the female, the 2 is the male. When you put these together, and you put them together in our own psyche, because they exist within our own psyche, we have a male and a female components, regardless of our physical sex. So, and that is shown, for instance, in the endocrine system, because we all have male hormones and we all have female hormones. Okay, does that make sense? These 2 energies inside of our own head, when they are clashing, it creates a very, very busy headspace. So if you struggle with the mind being very busy and you need to quieten it down, there's a row going on between your male and your female energy. That is often symbolized in our external world as perhaps in the relationship dynamics that we find ourselves in. So a lot of high sensitives do find at times that there are challenges within relationship dynamics, okay, or that they've had to work those through. Part of that reason is that they refuse to compromise. I'm not saying that you're stubborn and, I'm not compromising. You're not going to compromise. You find it very difficult to compromise your values. So those two energies come together and they create a whirlwind of death. And then that kind of dumps through your system until you feel it rattling around in the subconscious, and then you worry about it in your physical world. Okay? The 110 at the top is the whole self. Okay? So within the tree of life, the whole self is what we term as the life force. So for some people, they would label it Mother Nature. Some other people would label it God. Some people would have all kinds of different names, or the life intelligence. Within the tree of life, it is seen that nothing is separate. So everything is connected. So a lack of faith is a lack of faith in ourselves. A lack of understanding around something is a lack of understanding within ourselves. Okay, so developing the intuitive senses, what it means is we bring the tree to life. We bring the tree into our physical world to the extent where, if you can imagine that if you can see it all, it's much easier. Most people in life are driving along in that 110 at the bottom there with a painted over windscreen, looking through a little chip. So, as you can imagine, if you were driving on a motorway, looking through a little tiny hole at your way out, you're going to be very concerned about crashing or being distracted by anything unfamiliar. What we're looking at, as far as your understanding, and definitely your understanding of the life codes and how you operate within that, and your calmness within it as a high sensitive, it means you have a clear windscreen. You're working towards allowing that windscreen to be clear. And when that windscreen is clear, you can already imagine the difference that will make, or that does make. But you're already working your way into a bigger space to be able to see. And you've been doing that for years, unconsciously. Does that make sense?